Ashe, 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 I say. Yes, Ashe and Grand Rising once again to you all, my very beautiful people. Yes, it is I, the Mystic Philosopher. And I'm back with you today just to share a few thoughts with you this morning or this Grand Rising. Oh man, all these things on the people's mind. Yes, today I would like to share with you my perspective or some of my perspectives on the English word leader. And I will also talk a little about the word concept while answering the question, who is a leader, as opposed to the concept of leadership. And I am inspired to talk about these two things and these two words because of a question that one of my very critical and analytical listeners asked me after listening to one of my latest YouTube posts titled, "What is Trust? Another Perspective" by I, the Mystic Philosopher. And the question that the listener asked is this, and I quote, "Mr. Mystic Philosopher, why do you always use the word so-called when referring to our politicians, scientists, educators, and world leaders, etc., when the evidence show that they are the ones that have and do wield the power over all of us, over all of our lives," unquote. Now, and just to remind you, my listeners, that in the past, I also pointed out the fact that the word ours, in reality and in all practicality, does not necessarily means ours, meaning that the phrase, as in our politicians, our educators, our scientists, our police force, our security force and forces, our police officers, our country, our money, I think I said yes, our scientists, our money, and our world leaders, etc., does not necessarily and truly mean ours. And I will also take this opportunity and talk and ask you, my people, to please be not deceived, at least not anymore, with this our thing. Yes, think about it when you say our, or ours, or mine. So because of who and what we are, let me again remind you, because of who and what we are, and as the natural native earthly humans, who and what we are as the earth's original and organic humans, as the earth's pre-Adamic humans, as the earth's highly enriched melanin humans, or the earth's highly enriched carbon skin humans that are today called Africans and African ascendants and African people. Let me also quickly remind you and ask that you bear in mind at all times the fact that this is not our language. These words that I am now using and uttering in my attempt to communicate some of my innermost thoughts to you, my people, and with you, my people, they are not ours. They are not mine. Please let me remind you that regardless of how well and real, how well our real and true owners and masters, or let me repeat that, please let me remind you that regardless of how well the real and true owners and masters of this language, who, just for your information, are also in reality our owners and masters, regardless of how well they may have trained you, regardless of how well they may have educated you and certified you, sanctioned you, and positioned you in their system, and regardless of the amount of pride and self-aggrandizement that I see and know that some of you take in speaking this language, and using it to put down others that might not be as fortunate, or quite possibly more correctly, as unfortunate as you. The fact is that this is not your language. This is not our language. This is not our ancestors' language or our mother tongue, but it is the language and words of the aliens and the new creatures upon our Mother Earth. It is our invaders' language. It is our conquerors, our oppressors, our persecutors, our haters, our exterminators, our slave traders, our slave masters, and it is our slave mistresses. You name it or you name them. And the fact still remains that this language, also known as the English language or the British language, and the words belong to them, not us. So always remember that when you try to put down people's, other people, our own people, who can't articulate it like you. Let me also quickly inform you or remind you that the secrets of a people are hidden and encoded in their language. And in order to know their secrets, you must or we must first learn their language and know how to decode their language and their every word. If your basic common sense is activated and you agree that this is true, then you will also agree that the secrets of our enemies are in their language. And thus, in order to know and understand how they are controlling us, governing us, subjugating us, manipulating us, deceiving us, and screwing us over, etc., etc., we must study their language in order to know how to decode their language and their words. Let me also remind you that this is war, and the battle is for our minds. And as the ancient philosopher, which you always hear me quote, the ancient Chinese philosopher, military strategist, army general, and author of the book titled The Art of War, which I recommend you guys read, you my people read, every one of us should read that book. Sun Tzu, or Sun Tzu as it's pronounced, said, and I quote, if you know the enemy and yourself, and you know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles. If you know yourself but not your enemy, for every victory gained, you will also suffer a defeat. Now, if you know neither the enemy nor yourself, you will succumb to every battle. Unquote. So from this, you must know and understand that to know our enemy also means that we must know their language as well. And to do so, we must start by using and referencing or referring to their various dictionaries at all times. Yes, various dictionaries, be they law dictionary, their whatever dictionary, dictionaries, etymology dictionaries, refer to them at all times. In fact, no word in our enemy's language should be taken for granted or should be left undefined, undecoded, and misunderstood. And not only should we reference their dictionaries when using their language, but we should use our activated common sense as well while interpreting their every word and their language. Because the language is the essence and character of the people, aka the owners. And just like the people, their language and their words are filled with deceits, tricks, cons, and sorcery. It is a crafty language. It is a language of tricks and cons. Some refer to it as a trickology language. Trickology language. I'm not the first to use that word. Trickology language. And this fact I will shortly illustrate with this word leader and also the word concept. So, what does their dictionaries, aka their trickology dictionaries, say that the word leader mean and is defined as? But before I even quote directly from their dictionary, by just looking at the word, we see that the root of the word leader is the word lead. And our activated common sense, coupled with our own practical life experiences, tells us that lead means, and lead is to go in front, to show the way. Lead means to go ahead in the way or ahead in the path. Lead means to guide something or someone, etc. For example, if or when there is a race, be it a horse race, a dog race, a hog race, a human race, a car race, a ship race, etc., etc., it is the person or the thing that is out in front or that is ahead that is known as the leader, and definitely not any of those that are in the middle or that are at the back or even those that are on the side. You can't lead from the side. You can't lead from the middle. In other words, one cannot lead from behind or from the middle or from outside and claim to be doing so. And to claim to be doing so that you're leading from the side or you're leading from behind is a concept and a fraud. Another very important fact that I would be remiss if I did not mention it here, and it is the fact that a leader must know where he or she is going in order to try and take someone else there. A leader must know the way, and for all practical reasons, he or she must have experienced, must have studied, been through, or literally traveled the path or the way before. For as the saying goes, the blind cannot lead the blind, or else the boat will fall into a pit. And as you no doubt will see and agree, my people, that there's a multitude of those among us today that call themselves leaders and are professing to be leaders and are deceiving many as leaders that are both literally, physically, mentally, spiritually, honestly, and morally blind, you name it. And regrettably, there are those among us that are their followers that are just as blind. Therefore, a leader is someone who goes in front of those that he or she leads or those that he or she is leading. A leader is someone who, by practical example, goes in front of those he or she leads or is leading and show them the way or show them the path. A leader is one who leads by practical example. A leader is the first to be in danger or the first to reap the rewards. Now here is how one online dictionary defines the word leader. And I quote, 1, the person who leads or command a group, organization, or country, unquote. Number 2, the principal player in a music group, unquote. Now here is where the trickology, aka the deception in the language, very subtly and covertly comes in. It says that a leader is a person who leads or commands a group, organization, or country. This is how those among us that call themselves leaders and would have a lot of us believe that they are indeed leaders by their skillful and crafty use of the trickology, of this trickology language, deceive us and get away with it, or deceive many and get away with it. Yes, as I have earlier illustrated by giving you literal examples of the word lead, and that a leader is a person who leads. But here, with this trickology people, and their trichology language, we see where they inject the conjunction, or not just a junction, but a tricky junction, or, and deceptively extend the meaning and definition of leader to also mean a commander. And so without thinking, one is led to believe or accept that a commander, meaning a person who gives order or who gives command or give orders to a group, command or orders to a group or to an organization or to a country, is a leader. Yes, that's because the guy give an order to do whatever you think he's a leader. No, he's a commander. And so you have people that are called leaders that are nowhere to be found. They are always missing in action. They call themselves leaders, but they are nowhere to be found. The fact is that in reality, a commander can also be a leader, and a leader can also be a commander, but they are not the same. They are not one and the same. For example, a commander can or may give orders or commands from anywhere on the battlefield. A commander may give orders. But be it in front or be it in the middle or at the back, a commander can give orders or command. But a leader, aka a true leader, can and must only operate from in front or from the front. And so this is where the tricksters such as the politicians and other so-called leaders operates. They always claim to be leading from behind. And some of us stupidly believe that. That's a possibility. They are called the head and the leader of an army. Or they call themselves the head and the leader of an army. But they are never on the real battlefield. Some of those that are, that are called leaders and call themselves leaders have never seen the battlefield of an army that they claim to be leading or the war that they are claiming to be fighting. When there is any form of danger, they can be found, or they may be found, hiding in some underground bunkers from where they are being briefed and from where they are giving orders to the true leaders that are on the front line of the battlefield, risking and losing their lives for these cowards. You will also hear these so-called leaders, aka politicians, claiming that they are leading poor people out of hunger and poverty, when in reality they have never had to go to their beds one night without a meal because simply they could not afford it, or they could not afford to have a meal. A leadership is the ship that goes ahead of all other ships or all other vessels in the battle and face the enemy head on. A leadership or a leadership does not travel from behind or stand or dock on the sidelines or in the middle of the fleet. This is a concept, meaning this is a tricky idea, a deceptive idea, etc. So when next you see or hear some among us claiming to be leading the fight, for example, in crime, and they are not out there on the front line, know thou this, fighting crime, know thou this, that they are frauds and cons. When you see or hear some among us claiming to be leading the fight against injustice, and they are nowhere to be seen on the front line for justice, they know all this, that they are frauds and cons. And I could go on, but in the interest of time, I will end it here. I am the Mystic Philosopher. Ashe, 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 I say.